Today, Kamaru Usman has put his bid in for the new BMF along with Volkanovski as he will step in on short notice to face the Wolf, Khamzat Chimaev. And what about USADA? What about Conor McGregor? What about the sauciness? What about the juiciness? What about it all ending on January 1st, 2024? All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening, guys? We back at it. Who knew it was going to end up being a huge week for news in mixed martial arts? On a week where the card that we have this Saturday is not the most action-packed. But let's get into it. So, yesterday, let's go back a couple of days ago. Bohashin. We talking about Paulo Costa was on Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour and was talking about he had an elbow injury. He recently had surgery like 3 or 4 weeks ago. He was still down to go ahead and fight Khamzat Chimaev. And we all knew, if you watched anything from that interview or if you just read the headline about it, you knew one way or the other Paulo Costa was going to pull out of that fight or be pulled out of that fight. Well, enter Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman is now going to step up one division to middleweight to face Khamzat Chimaev on less than a week's, pretty much a week's notice, a week and a few days, maybe about 9 days notice or so. He's going to step in there and face Khamzat Chimaev next week at UFC 294. This is some wild stuff that is going on right now because, for the most part, we didn't really know where Kamaru Usman's career was going to go from here. He's got the 2 losses to Leon Edwards, one of them by KO. And honestly, in his rematch in his third fight with Leon Edwards, he didn't look like the same Kamaru from a few years ago. He didn't quite move the same way. His takedowns, his shots weren't quite as quick or as crisp as they used to be. So it was kind of like, I don't know where Kamaru's going to go from here after he lost that fight. It's been rumored for years he wanted to go up to middleweight, but he was kind of holding back because, of course, Israel Adesanya was at the top of the division. Obviously, Israel's gone into hiding at the moment, trying to fix his mental. So Kamaru Usman is now stepping up on short notice. And to add another wrinkle to this, Dana White has said that the winner of this fight between him and the Wolf, Chimaev, is going to get a middleweight title shot against Sean Strickland. I'm going to say that again. The winner of this fight is going to get a middleweight title shot against Sean Strickland. Look, sometimes life gives you gifts that you didn't really know you wanted or that you didn't really know that you needed, but I am all down for when life gives you those gifts. And this, my friends, is one of those gifts. Because, yeah, I'd love to see Dricus du Plessis step in there with Sean Strickland. That's really the fight that I want to see until Izzy gets his mind right. But in the meantime, because, personally, I'm just going to come out. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't think Kamaru Usman is going to win this fight. It's short notice. He didn't really look to be in supreme form. He's in good shape, but he didn't seem to be in supreme fighting form when he did his rematch against Leon Edwards. And, bro, honestly, is Joe Rogan an op? Like, is Joe Rogan an op of Kamaru Usman? Because literally every single podcast he has to bring up how bad his knees are and the fact that he's got to walk up and down steps backwards. I just wanted to bring that up. He brings up the fact that he can't run, he's got to walk on grass, so on and so forth. So that was just a side tangent that I had, but I think Joe Rogan is Kamaru Usman's op. But nevertheless, bro, this should be an interesting fight. We're going to see how it's going to go down. I'm going to be super excited, especially if Chimaev wins, because it's like, bro, I think Dricus du Plessis deserves the middleweight title shot before him. But regardless, Dricus is in the mix. So if Chimaev gets the shot before him, so be it. As long as it's not Izzy getting a shot, I'm cool with it. So, and I'm sure Dricus is still going to be in the mix one way or the other. Hopefully he doesn't have to fight one more fight to make that happen. But nevertheless, Kamaru Usman is stepping in there against on short notice against Khamzat Chimaev. And that should be an interesting fight. Let's get into the other news that just dropped yesterday. So apparently USADA and the UFC are on the outs. And as of January the 1st, 2024, USADA will no longer be working with the UFC. Or should I say the UFC will no longer be working with them. The wildest thing about all this is the catalyst to this is Conor McGregor. Now, months earlier, this year, Conor McGregor, he did multiple interviews, or people called him while he was snowed up in clubs, and he was talking. He had a lot of bad things to say about USADA. Now, all of this is alleged. I'm gonna say that, even though we all kind of know it to be what it is, but I'm just gonna say it's alleged. So allegedly, after Conor McGregor broke his leg, Conor McGregor probably wanted to get the best healing procedures, best healing substances, best healing. He just wanted to get healed up the something other than the old natural way, allegedly. So Conor McGregor leaves the USADA testing pool. He's been out of it. He just now entered back into it. He's been out of it for a long time. And all of a sudden, while he's healing his leg, he's filming the movie Roadhouse, and he's looking extremely saucy. You know what I mean? He's looking extra juicy. Pause. So, now, when you look at it, this entire year they've been trying to coax Conor McGregor back into the octagon, preferably for the UFC to face Michael Chandler. And they've never quite been able to do that. Well, now when you look at the way everything is played out, it looks like Conor is training again. He's finally ready to come back, and he's had to re-enter the USADA pool. USADA said that he needs to produce multiple, I don't know if it's just two, but we'll say multiple clean tests over the course of 6 months because of the amount of time that he's been out, and also based on the fact that he looks saucy. So this is very interesting because Conor McGregor has made it clear that he wasn't down with any of that. Probably because he allegedly could be a little saucy. So when you look at this, there's been a lot of chirping back and forth between Dana White, between USADA. Conor McGregor has given his stance on this. And the outcome of everything is Conor has entered back into the USADA testing pool. But as of January the 1st, they will be no more with the UFC. Now, before we all get extremely happy, overjoyed, do backflips, do gainers, start doing parkour off our walls like we were saucy, let's not jump to conclusions and think that this means as of 2024, everybody in the UFC can get all saucy or juiced out and start fighting, and we're going back to the days of Pride, which, I'd love for us to go back to the days of Pride, but let's not jump to that conclusion. One way or the other, I'm sure the UFC is going to end up hiring a new testing source, possibly WADA, although very few of these testing sources have the money of USADA and have the reach and the range of USADA. So more than likely, you're still going to have a lot of fighters that are going to slip through the cracks over in foreign countries, foreign regions that aren't going to be tested as well. So we're still going to get some sauciness, you know what I'm saying? But it's just interesting that Conor McGregor makes the sport turn around him that much that his displeasure with USADA is what has ended the relationship between USADA and the UFC. So I just wanted to drop in and tap in with you guys real quick, to react to this news because it's been an action-packed week in mixed martial arts, specifically in the UFC. But when it boils down to it, Kamaru Usman has now threw his name in the hat for the BMF as he will step in there to fight Khamzat Chimaev on short notice, as well as USADA and the UFC will be no more as of January the 1st. And it is possible that we might get some extremely saucy fighters in 2024 and so on. So nevertheless, I appreciate you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA, and I'll check you next time. Peace.